In this video, I will discuss some important terms used in statistics. First, let us define statistics. Statistics is a branch of mathematics which involves the collection, organization, summarization, presentation, and interpretation of data. So if you gathered, arranged, summarized, or presented information, or explained or interpreted this information, it means that you have applied statistics. We have two branches of statistics. First is the descriptive statistics. It is a branch of statistics which involves collection, summarization, and presentation of data. The other branch is inferential statistics. This is the branch that interprets and draws conclusion from the data. What are these data? When we say data, data are facts or figures from which conclusions may be drawn. So data are informations. A collection of facts and figures is termed as data set. So when these data or information are gathered or compiled together, that is termed as data set. A characteristics of interest that can take on different possible outcomes or values for every element in the set is called a variable. We have two types of variables. First, we have the quantitative variable. When the outcomes are expressed numerically, the variable is said to be quantitative. In other words, this is a numerical value or these are numbers. On the other hand, we have the qualitative, which refers to non-numerical quantities or attributes. So when we say non-numerical, these are non-numbers such as qualities, something like that. Next is the two types of quantitative variable. First is the continuous variable. It may take on any value in a given interval and it gives rise to measurement. In short, continuous variable involves measuring. For example, the height of an individual. So in order for you to get the height of that individual, you need to measure. Or another, the distance from Nueva Vizcaya to Metro Manila. Next, discrete variable. It takes on any given interval of values and it gives rise to counting. So under discrete, it involves counting. For example, the number of commercial buildings in Nueva Vizcaya. So in order for you to get the number of commercial buildings in Nueva Vizcaya, you need to count. So those are the two types of quantitative variable. Next is the four levels of measurement. The four levels of measurement are classified into two. First is the categorical level, or that is the qualitative level. Under categorical, we have two. First is the nominal. Nominal is the lowest level of measurement where data collected are simply labels or names or category without any implicit ordering of the labels. For example, the gender of an individual. So we all know that we have two genders, male and female. So gender has no implicit ordering of the labels. Meaning to say, hindi mo naman masasabi na si female ay mas mataas kesa kay male. Or otherwise, si male ay mas mataas kesa kay female. So gender is just simply label or name or a category. Next, we have the ordinal. It is a level of measurement higher than nominal where data collected are labels or names with an implied ordering of the labels. For example, the winners of the Quiz Bee competition. So we have the champion, first runner-up, second runner-up, and third runner-up. So these labels or categories have an implied ordering. So alam naman natin na si champion mas mataas kesa kay first runner-up. Si first runner-up ay mas mataas kesa kay second runner-up. At si third runner-up ang pinakamababa. So those are the two levels of measurement that falls under categorical level. Next is the numerical level. So from the word numerical, it involves numbers. Under numerical, we also have two. First, we have the interval. It is a level of measurement in which we can set up inequalities and form differences, but not multiply or divide. The 0 point is arbitrary, meaning to say, there is no true 0 point or there is no starting point. For example, the temperature in degrees Celsius. So we have 0 degrees Celsius, but that is not a starting point because 0 degrees Celsius has an equivalent of 32 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning there is still a degree of hotness or coldness with 0 degree Celsius. Next, we have the ratio scales. So ratio scales is the same with interval. The only difference is that ratio scales has a true 0 point or there is a starting point. Example, the amount of money. So we have that so-called zero money or there is no money at all. Another of which is the weight. So we have the starting point of 0 kg or no weight at all. So those are the two levels of measurement which falls under the numerical level. Next are the methods of collecting information or data. So we have three methods. First is the objective method. In the objective method, data are gathered with the use of a measuring or counting instrument such as a meter stick, a vernier caliper, a color chart, or a counting device. So under objective method, data to be collected are numerical data or numbers. Next, we have the subjective method. In the subjective method, written or verbal reports are elicited from identified respondents. The device used to gather data comes in the form of questionnaires. So subjective method can either be written or verbal. If you wish it to be written, then you'll be needing questionnaires. So questionnaires will be given to your respondents and then your respondents will answer that questionnaire, and then from that questionnaire, you're going to collect or gather those necessary informations. Or if you wish it to be verbal, you may use an interview as a medium. And the last method is the use of existing records. So this method gives rise to secondary data that have been previously collected by another person or institution for some other purposes. For example, if you want to transfer or enroll to an academic institution, your previous academic records will be needed. Or if you wish to transfer to another doctor, your previous records in your first doctor will be needed by your new doctor. So those are the methods of collecting data or information. Next, let us discuss about population. In statistics, population refers to the set of all observations made on all objects under the study for a given characteristics of interest or variable. The number of observations in a given population is referred to as the size of the population and is designated as the uppercase N. Next is the sample. A sample is a subset of population, meaning to say, sample came from population. It is any subgroup of observations drawn from the population by some appropriate method so that the characteristics of the population can be estimated. Then, the number of observations in a given sample is termed as sample size and is designated by the lowercase n. So for us to further understand population, sample, and sample size, let us have an example. We have here a study on the relationship of reading comprehension and mathematical reasoning of 50 BE-Ed freshman students of PLT College Incorporated. So the population from this study are the freshman students of PLT College Incorporated, while the sample are the BE-Ed freshman students of PLT College Incorporated, and the sample size are the 50 BE-Ed freshman students of PLT College Incorporated. So as you can see, the population is general, the sample is the specific, and the sample size is the more specific. So from general to specific to a more specific. So those are population, sample, and sample size. Next is sampling. Basically, sampling is the process of choosing a sample. Sampling can be classified into two. First is the probability sampling, where every element of the population is given a non-zero chance of being chosen for the sample. Meaning to say, all the elements will have a chance to be chosen as a sample. Next is the non-probability sampling. Some of the elements of the population are deliberately ignored, giving some elements no chance at all to be included in the sample. In here, some of the elements will have no chance to be chosen as a sample. Then we have the methods of probability sampling. First is the simple random sampling. A sample is a simple random sample if all members of the population have an equal chance of being included in the sample. This is usually done by draw lots, by the use of the table of random numbers, or by the use of calculator. An example of this is the fishbowl method, where all members of the population will be put inside the fishbowl, and then each member or each element of the population will have a chance to be chosen as a sample. Next is the systematic sampling. The elements of a population of size n, the uppercase n, are numbered from 1 to n in some order. A systematic sample of size n consists of an element selected randomly from the first k elements of the population and every k subsequent elements, where k is called the sampling interval. For example, I have a population of 1,000. So this population will be assigned a number from 1 to 1,000. And I will choose my sample depending on my system. Let's just say I have to draw the samples with the numbers ending with 5. So those will be my samples. And the third method is the stratified sampling. The samples in this type of sampling are taken by dividing the population into subpopulations called strata. In each stratum, a proportional sample is taken either through simple random or systematic. For example, below is the diagram showing how 120 samples were taken from population of 400 students using stratified sampling. So we have here on the leftmost part of the diagram the population of 400 students. From these 400 students, It is subdivided into 4, the freshmen, sophomore, junior, and senior. So we have 80 freshmen, 60 sophomores, 140 juniors, and 120 seniors. This is your strata or subpopulation. Then from subpopulation, we will draw samples with equal proportion. So from this example, we draw 30% from the strata. So 30% of 80 freshmen is 24 freshmen. 30% of 64 sophomores is 18 sophomores. 30% of 140 juniors is 42 juniors. And 30% of 120 seniors is 36 seniors. So that is what we call the stratified sampling. The fourth method is the cluster sampling. Cluster sampling is one-stage sampling procedure wherein the population is composed of a group of clusters or small units composed of population elements. A cluster sample consists of all the elements of a number of these clusters chosen by simple random sampling or by systematic sampling. So cluster sampling is similar with stratified sampling. The only difference is that on cluster sampling, you have the option to choose into which cluster to draw samples. Unlike on the stratified sampling, you need to draw an equal proportion in each cluster in the strata. Then, the last method is the multi-stage sampling. So this sampling procedure is done in stages. For example, if you wish to know the practice of family planning of families in Nueva Vizcaya, you may use multi-stage sampling. It's because the province itself is broad. So you need to narrow it down into municipality. So you have to choose a municipality from the province of Nueva Vizcaya. Let's just say Bagabag. And then from that municipality, you need to narrow it down into barangay. Then from that barangay, you can now choose your family samples. So those are the 5 methods of probability sampling. Next are the methods of organizing and presenting data. First is the textual method. Collected data may be organized and presented in a narrative or textual form. Where only a few statistics need to be reported, this method of presenting data is the simplest to use. So from the word text, you'll be narrating your data. Next is the tabular method. So data may also be presented by means of tables. This is very effective and efficient way of organizing data. So tabular method is the use of tables. And lastly, we have the graphical method. So graphical method is the presentation of data in the form of a graph or diagram. The common types of graphs are line graph, bar graph, pie chart, pictograph, and the statistical map. So data can be organized or presented through graphs or diagram. So those are some important terms used in statistics. Thank you for watching and I hope you have learned something.